Welcome to Hardback Life. It's time for stories, sass, and strong opinions. Let's turn the page. I'm Cassie.
And I'm Becca. We literally sat down at 7:15 and it is now 9:06 p.m. We have problems.
To be fair, we tried to start at one other point, and
Yeah, and then my computer decided to have an aneurysm.
it was crazy.
Okay, not wasting time. What are we reading? I know we recorded Sunday, but
I forget if I had started Lights Out on Sunday or not, but I'm finishing that tonight after we're done. And then I have a poetry arc to read, and then another arc, and then I'll probably finally get to Onyx Storm.
thank God.
I've been putting it off because I don't want it to end, but I
No.
miss it. I
I'm
miss
I am so ready to do our Fourth Wing episode whenever we decide to do that.
Yeah.
I know we have so many episodes queued.
We actually we're ahead right now.
We're
Okay.
doing good. I love it. I am still reading House of Flame and Shadow.
But you got some good parts though, which is exciting.
I have. It's re-enlightened I don't feel like I'm in a slump anymore. I'm actually ready to read at night when I lay down. But I am going to eventually start the Butterfly Garden because our book club this month did a bingo board situation for all of the books that are at the bottom of our TBR that we haven't prioritized. And that was not my nomination. I nominated The Paper Palace, but I decided that the Butterfly Garden was a better nomination, so I'm going to read that one.
I nominated Thursday.
The Thursday Murder Club?
Yes, the Thursday Murder Club. So I'll probably read that one. It was hard to find. I've shared that my TBR is not organized, so it was a little hard to pick one to figure out the dates that they all went back. But that's what I went with.
That's why you need to put your TBR on Goodreads. Is there anything new in life since Sunday?
Nope.
The only new update for me is that I am finally medicated for my ADHD, and it's just a total game changer.
It really is. I got medicated last summer, fall, and I've never experienced a quiet brain before. You've done it to me multiple times already, but I remember the first week I'd be like, Andrew, is this what other people feel like? Is it there's nothing happening? Is that okay?
My head is so quiet, and that it's eye-opening for sure.
Yeah. It was just so validating too to be like, wow, I actually really did need that, didn't I?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Also,
Yeah.
I let my ADHD take over because I chose to try it for the first time tonight, and I took it at 7, so I'm probably going to be up all night, and I have to be at my internship at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, so woohoo for me.
Yeah, and all I have to say to that is I'll probably just also be awake because I don't sleep. So
I'll be sure to text you.
and I'll be reading.
Interested to see how reading goes.
It's such a game changer. I've told you guys before, I lose myself in books.
You do.
Maybe it's concerning because somebody could probably break into my house and murder me while I'm reading and I won't hear it coming. But also, I'm just so thoroughly engrossed and enjoy it.
At least you would be dying doing something you love.
Yeah, which is how I want to go.
I was going to say you'll go reading about Cassian.
The only way that's okay.
All right. So today we are diving into the Powerless Trilogy, which I'm actually really excited to talk about because I have thoughts about this trilogy. It was an emotional ride for me, and yeah, I'm really interested to put this one out there.
I was trying to form how I wanted to say this because, again, she wrote a book, she wrote a whole trilogy. The last one kind of ruined it for me. And I've seen it. I'm not the only one. It's like a thing amongst Bookstagram. You either loved it or you hated it. And I really didn't hate it until the last couple chapters. I blew through it how quickly in a day. And I'm like, wow, that wasn't even a little bit satisfying in the end.
Here's the thing. You're better than me because DNF Queen over here, I DNF'd that shit 150 pages in. I was like, I can't do this. I'm done. I have so many other books in my life that I need to be reading, and I don't know. So we'll get there. Let's read the synopsis.
So this synopsis is overall for all three. It does specifically say by book 3, whatever, but it's for all three. So the Powerless Trilogy, a dramatic tale of sass, stabbing, and slow burn longing. In a world where everyone has powers, everyone except our heroine, Powerless kicks off with Peyton, a girl faking it till she makes it. Well, hopefully makes it. or at least doesn't get executed. She's no powers, no problem, until she gets roped into a deadly competition where having no powers is actually a huge problem. Enter the grumpy prince with emotional constipation and a sword fetish. That got me. I'm so sorry.
That was a very unnecessary visual.
That really got me. Oh
Okay.
no. He's tall, dark, broody, and possibly allergic to smiling. Naturally, they fall into the classic enemies to something awkward situation, complete with deadly flirting, mutual betrayal, and lots of why is this person hot while trying to kill me. In book 2, Powerless okay, fine, it's not called that, it's called Reckless, but everything is worse. Everyone is lying, and the romantic tension is so thick you could slice it with a dagger, which somebody probably does multiple times. By book 3, everyone's either in love, in danger, or both. Mostly both, honestly. Alliances crumble, hearts break, and Peyton continues to survive through sheer spite and sarcasm. You'll scream, you'll swoon, you'll scream while swooning. The trilogy ends in the only way it could: chaos, feelings, and hopefully some therapy.
Okay, so before you give your thoughts, let me give the awards.
Okay.
So, Powerless Book 1 was released in January of 2023. It was nominated for the 2024 British Book Awards. It was also a Goodreads Choice Award nominee in Best Young Adult Fantasy and Science Fiction, though it didn't win. Probably for a reason. And that's like really rude because I didn't dislike this series, but I have issues with it. Reckless Book 2 was released in July of 2024. It was nominated for the Goodreads Choice Award 2024 Best YA Fantasy and Science Fiction, and it was nominated again for the British Book Awards. And then book 3 was Fearless, and it was released just this past April 2025. And as of right now, it doesn't have any reported nominations or major awards.
I need to point something out here. And SJM and Rebecca Yarros, I hope you're listening. Did you hear those release dates? Did you hear them? 2023, 2024, 2025.
Okay, here's the thing. The fact that you are delulu enough to think that Rebecca Yarros and Sarah J. Maas are listening to our podcast, like that is irate.
No, I know that, but I'm just pointing out. Guys,
oh my God.
If you actually listen, I would be crying and would never, I love you. I would never say anything bad about either of you.
Oh my God. Okay, what was the comment you had about the synopsis?
I had a lot of them.
Okay.
First of all, I really didn't feel like the whole Kai being allergic to smiling, he's like a lot. He was just very sassy. Like, they were sassy smiles.
Yeah,
I don't. He also smiled a lot.
That made him out to be like this.
Like, he really wasn't that brooding.
Yeah, like they really made him out to be like grumpy, but like he really wasn't like a big grump. Like he had moments, but yeah, he just hated his dad.
And like the whole enemies to lovers, I always struggled with this trilogy is because they're really only enemies to Peyton because nobody else knows she doesn't have powers.
Yeah, this is not, to me, a true enemies to lovers.
No, I agree. Because, like, in his mind, yeah, they're competing against each other, but they don't, it's not like Hunger Games where one has to die. So, in his mind, he just saw her as, like, a competitor, not necessarily an enemy. And he pretty quickly was attracted to her. She rescued him in, like, chapter 2, and then he was just done for the rest of it. And I know, like, a lot of people, we read the first one as a book club. I know a lot of people didn't like how slow of a burn it was because it's YA also. I enjoyed it.
I didn't mind
the romance part of a slow burn.
Yeah, I liked this book. But let's talk about book 1. So I liked Powerless. I read it pretty quickly, and I give it credit for that. And it had me. I was interested. Yeah, it was a YA, so it's not...
They're not fucking every other page, I feel like.
No, which, like, I'm fine with, again, because we talked in our last episode about how, like, fantasies don't, like, need that. But... yeah, and then I chose to pick up Reckless because somebody else in our book club, like, did read it and was like, oh, you should read it just to get through it or whatever. And that one I, like, actually flew through too. Like, that one had my attention. And then we got to book 3, and this is the thing. It's a really long book. It's not the longest book I've ever read, but it's 630-something pages. And I just knew that I just knew in my gut it wasn't going to be worth it. And, like, I had other things that I wanted to be reading. And so I really struggled. I gave it not a shot. I read 150 pages. Like, I really did. And I think also my qualm with this series is that there are a lot of, like, storylines or, like, plot points that I feel like are repeated. And that just didn't do it for me. Like, I feel like that the whole like back and forth between our two characters, Peyton and Kai, and do I love her? Do I love her not? Am I into her? Am I not? And vice versa with her. Am I into him? Am I not? Blah, 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 blah. I just feel like that was like the entire second book. And we already did that in the first book. And then come the third book. So we mentioned in the synopsis, like these trials that Peyton has to go through. These trials come, and I won't ruin it for anybody who wants to read this trilogy, but like those trials like come back around in a certain way. And that's just, I just feel like that was lazy.
I
It was just
agree.
like annoying to me.
I agree. And they're harder trials, I get that, but like still, you just did it. And it's not just borrowing a little bit, like you just did it.
Yeah, like
And then like Peyton and Kai are fighting their feelings again, like they were in the first one. I don't know. It was a lot of repetition. And then Kit is the king. That I don't think that's like a huge spoiler.
no.
The other brother's the king by the third book. So there's still this weird tension while she's doing the trials with yet another king. It was like a whole repeat. Have you ever watched Degrassi?
Yes.
Okay. Everything's like every new cast, they do the same storylines. You know what I mean? And that's just what it felt like. Like they're always
Yeah.
a little bit different because they're new characters, but like the same.
Yeah,
Which I love Degrassi, and I watched all of the stories replay for years, so I can't.
so
Even
I didn't. I was like an initial like early season watcher, and then I like fell off of it.
I don't know. It was a lot of borrowing. Is it borrowing when it's like her own story? I don't know, but it was a lot of redoing to me.
Okay, so this is a whole thing that we could like totally dive into, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. So, especially with the just like the issues that we had with the plot and the storyline in general, let me preface this by saying I have not read the other book that I'm going to discuss. So, there is a alarming debate online, and it's not as trending right now, but it did. It like blew up the internet, which I feel like it did like before we read it for book club, but there is a large debate in the like Bookstagram, BookTok book world of the fact that Lauren Roberts, the author of the Powerless Trilogy, plagiarized Powerless, and it was very similar to a book called The Red Queen.
Oh, I have heard this.
Background is that Red Queen was released in 2015, and it's a debut YA dystopian novel, and the author's name is Victoria Aveyard, and it depicts a world divided between powerless reds and privileged silvers with supernatural abilities, which is very similar to the Powerless Trilogy, which the first book was released in 2023, and it has a very strikingly similar premises where the Peyton, our ordinary girl from the slums, enters this trial system as she's not really like powerful. So people talk about it being like incredibly like similar. Yeah. So like some of the like highlights are that like both novels depict the hierarchical societies with a powerless and underclass and a powerful elite. So like I get that because a lot of fantasy novels like touch on that. And then main characters start out living in poverty and commit thievery to survive. Each inadvertently robs a prince, leading to their entry into elite trials. Romantic subplots involve two brothers and a love triangle. Both protagonists become symbols of rebellion and face betrayal and execution threats by the final act. Like people argue that it's like literally the same book.
Okay, but here's my thing with that is so is Hunger Games. Like, I just feel like this idea is like a kind of a popular one right now.
But apparently people say it was like just like down to the minute things, like down to living in poverty and like what they had to do to survive. And also like the love triangle, like being very specific.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have not read The Red Queen. I have it.
Either.
I have it on my shelf. It is on my TBR. I actually think I'm going to nominate it for our book club prompt when we get to books for the first letter of your name. But yeah, so here are some like community reactions. Many readers, especially on Reddit, view Powerless as overly derivative. So this is a quote, Powerless is literally a mix of tropes and copy-paste of Red Queen. If you read the descriptions for both books, you'd barely be able to tell them apart. That's from Reddit. Actually, I think all of this is from Reddit. She stole the whole book. 80% is Red Queen, and the other 20% was stolen off of Susan Collins, which is the author of The Hunger Games. And the last quote is, it's basically Red Queen and Hunger Games. This book is basically a ripoff of both of those books. People on Reddit went in on this. So I just feel like I had to like put that out there, especially like listeners who have maybe read both.
Yeah. I'd be interested if you've read both. Let us know. Because I also have not read the other one. And here's the thing with that is I do think there is a fine line for authors, but also musicians and like really any creative field where like you're getting inspiration from others and you're trying to make it your own. And like, even if you're not doing it on purpose, maybe you don't put your enough of you into it. You know what I mean? I don't think it's intentional. Like, I know Robin Williams used to accidentally, like, he would just hear other comedians make jokes. And then he'd put it into his stand up, and then the other comedians would be like, "What the hell? You stole my jokes." And he would acknowledge it and he'd pay them because I did steal a joke. I'm so sorry. I think you're just, when you read a lot or you listen to a lot of music and you're a musician or whatever, like, they just all blend together. And this is me. I'm trying not to put this on her because I think that's like damaging to her career if
I
like people
agree.
just keep assuming it. And I think that you could have no intention of doing something like that, but because look at Star Wars and Harry Potter. Harry Potter is basically Star Wars with wands. And I don't, and I love Harry Potter, but
Yeah.
it is when you think about it. And I think that people just, they take things they like and they put them all together. I think if anything, it's a nod to these other authors. It's not her trying to take their art.
I think it raised the question between plagiarism and inspiration. And that's like where some people on the internet were very much accusing plagiarism, and other people were like, she was just inspired. So, like,
Yeah.
Lauren Roberts, the author of the Powerless Trilogy, has come out on social media and
I
has
was just gonna
stated
ask,
that,
has she ever said?
yeah, so she came out and made a statement, and she said that her series was directly inspired by The Red Queen and The Hunger Games, which are the two books that are discussed like in relation to her series. Victoria Aveyard has reportedly alluded vaguely to similarities on social media between the two books, but she has not made any like actual legal allegations. I feel like if you haven't, to be fair, I feel like if you haven't made the legal allegations, like, you don't feel strongly enough that it was plagiarism.
Yeah, and how are you gonna prove that Lauren even read your book? There's really no way to, I think, legally. But again, I would like to think that it's just she really liked your book and she really liked The Hunger Games and she, in her own way, put them together and wasn't directly trying to take from somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
I don't know.
agree.
Maybe I'm the kind of person that believes humans are good. So I would just like to think,
That's fair. But yeah, I just
yeah.
wanted to, that was a big thing that I've seen all over BookTok, Bookstagram, all the things. So again, like, I wasn't like in this community or in this world like when this was like a really big deal.
Yeah, I didn't read that.
So The Red Queen is
Is it
like,
only a standalone?
no, so I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's like a 4 or 5 book series.
I'm not going to read it anytime soon, but I'd just be curious to see like how from start to finish. Like Lost, the first couple episodes are based on Lord of the Flies.
Okay.
But obviously it's very different, right? In the way that it ends and everything. So did it start that way and then took its own identity, or is it every book is the same?
I'm gonna eventually read it. It's on my shelf. Okay, so let's give some character context. So we've got Peyton, we've got Kai, we've got Kit. We've already touched on like the enemies to lovers trope. Like, we really don't feel like that this book is like an actual true enemies to lovers.
No. I would say more friends to lovers, if anything. Like in Peyton's mind, they were enemies, but in the way they acted, like they never really hated each other.
No.
They were just like sassy. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe friends is like a heart. Maybe acquaintances to lovers. I don't know. There's
yeah,
super strong feelings either way. I feel like.
I don't really feel like there was that strong hate.
Yeah, I agree. If by your enemies, like you better want each other dead.
Yeah. Overall, I do think that Peyton's character arc was decent. I think that she went from like pretending to survive to like leading this rebellion, even though like she was involved in a lot of the plot repeats. Obviously, because she's the main character, but it's not her
Like
fault.
it's not her fault. She doesn't exist, Cassie. I like how much we got to learn about her. Like she really didn't know, especially come the third book, you find out she was wrong about everything in her life. But like she never met her mom. Her dad died a few years before the first book. So there wasn't a lot of like background on her other than she grew up in the slums and she had no power. So throughout the trilogy, you mainly, I think, in the third book, you find out so much, which I really enjoy. I really enjoyed that.
Okay. Yeah, and I think like I did like that goes into like all of her backstory. Like, I did really enjoy her backstory. And then I feel like that overall, I think her moral compass was like a good evolution.
Yeah.
She gained like a lot of perspective, like when she competed in the trials, and then like her relationship with Kai, and then so Kit is also like a really big character. He's not a
The
main
other
character. Yeah, so he's the other prince who ends up becoming the king, and we won't say why because that'll spoil the series, but
And Kai is the prince, but he's the enforcer. So he's like head of the King's Guard or whatever Cole was in Throne of Glass.
yeah.
I'm not gonna pretend that I remember.
Yeah, like Kai was like built to execute and Kit was always bred from birth to be the king.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy, and that was part of the first book that I really did enjoy, is a little love triangle situation.
Love a love triangle.
And I do too. And I think like at first, like I really enjoyed like Peyton and Kit's like relationship. Like I won't ruin anything, but they have a relationship. If you read the book or have read the book, obviously, but I really enjoyed their dynamics. And then that just all goes south.
Yeah. I really love a good love triangle. I was torn for a lot during the first book of Kai or Kit.
See, I was a Kit supporter until I don't know, maybe 3/4 of the way through Powerless. I remember texting the book club group chat and being like, I kind of love Kit more. And everybody was like, nah, Kai. We did a poll on
We
our
did a poll.
Facebook group. Yeah.
I liked both of them, and I would have been okay whoever she chose. I do always think it's weird, even though I love a good love triangle, I do always find it weird when siblings are involved in it. The Summer I Turned Pretty is always like a weird thing to me because
Oh, I really liked that book.
I didn't read the book. I watched the show. I haven't watched the third season yet, or the last season. I don't know if it's third or fourth. I just find it odd when you're like between two siblings.
And I also
because
think,
I feel like then just don't pick because
well,
you're going to ruin their relationship.
I also think it's really interesting because like, obviously, while there is like hints of a love triangle, like, she doesn't really ever admit romantic feelings for Kit. So
No.
I feel like that it wasn't, again, like, it wasn't a true love triangle. That honestly, the overall like theme of like how I feel about this series is that pieces were missing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Nothing was done to its full extent. Like it was
Yeah.
like she tried, but it like wasn't true enemies to lovers. It wasn't a true love triangle. Like it wasn't like a true slow burn. And it just didn't. It's almost like she
No,
was
I get
trying to
that.
do too many tropes and
Mhm.
she got distracted in like doing all of them. And so she couldn't like really focus in on one.
And truthfully, I feel like that's becoming an issue in
Mm,
books in general.
I
Is
agree.
we're trying to throw everything into these books and they're like just pick one or two that you can do,
I think
you
people
know.
are trying to go viral on
Yeah.
social media and it's not doing them good.
But like again, let's think, and I've said it before, I have no credibility or no leg to stand on when it comes to writing books. None whatsoever. But I just think I'm like looking at the books that blow up. They're the ones that focus on one or two of those tropes, not the entire encyclopedia of tropes. You know what I mean?
I
Because
agree.
you do what you do well.
Yeah,
And I think Lauren Roberts is a great writer. Like I have nothing to say about her writing in general, but I just think, like you said, the story's missing pieces.
I agree. So, yeah, and I think that was like overall, again, like my thing with the characters is like there were just things that didn't feel completely finished. And
Yeah.
while I liked the characters and I read the first two books and read, I don't even know if I would consider 1/4 of the third one. I got 150 pages in out of 600 something. But yeah, so I don't, yeah, that's where I stand on characters.
I think the best part of the third book was the going back to the first book. Like all of the
Mm.
missing pieces you got from perspectives that you didn't have.
See, and it's
If
so
that makes sense.
interesting. I was talking to our book club member, our friend Grace, and like she pointed out a lot of the plot holes in the first one or two books or whatever. And I think that what's frustrating to me is, yeah, like there are things that you shouldn't know. There are like pieces that kind of come together like later in series, like, especially when you have a series. But this
Yeah.
one was like, wait, that was a huge plot hole. And then it like came back around and you were like,
Yeah.
oh, there it is. It was almost like you didn't expect it to come back around because it was such a big plot hole.
Yeah. Like I'm missing a lot of motivation, I think, from the first one. And that's what was revealed in the third one. But it's almost like I you still don't want to have as many questions as
Hmm.
like you said, everything unravels, and I understand that's how it works. But to have whole missing motivations is like well, I don't feel like I understand what's happening.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift to like themes because actually, out of all of the things that this trilogy offered, I actually really feel like the themes were what kept me reading or had me reading the first two books. So I do think she actually did the power and inequality theme pretty well, actually.
I agree. I really liked how she showed. So if you haven't read it, just a little bit more in depth is ordinaries are people who have no power and they're technically not allowed in that kingdom at all. And then you have what were the like minor powers? There was like a word for them.
The elites.
No, the step below the elites that were like the minor.
Oh,
Like technically they're elites, but like they're not as elite as the elites.
yeah, like their powers were like lesser.
Yeah. So then
Shit.
there's them, they lived in the slums. And then there's the elites, like Kai had like multiple powers. Or no, sorry, he could take on other people's power. So if you were a brute and you were really strong and you were in his vicinity, he could take on your power. If you were a mind reader and you were in his vicinity, he could take on your power. So he had a little bit of everything.
He had an elite power,
Yeah.
whereas the people who weren't just ordinary, but also, but they had a power, but it was like a lesser power. It's going to
Yeah.
really agitate me that I can't remember the term.
So that's how it was. It was really 3 classes, and the ones were completely shunned to like other cities.
So obviously, like Peyton is an ordinary, and obviously Kai and Kit are elites. And so I just think that she did a really good job with Peyton as a main character of standing up for the lesser, like standing up for the oppressed people. And she has a lot of scenes where she really like tries to push that these awful things are happening in the slums that they're not paying attention to. And it's very much I get it, these people are in the slums and like you view them equally because they are ordinaries, but these are your people. Like they are part of your world. They are part of your kingdom and you need to be taking care of them. And I think that's a powerful narrative, especially just like right now in life. It doesn't matter our status, it doesn't matter our skin color. Like the higher ups, like it's their responsibility to take care of their people. And so I think she did that really well.
I agree.
And she did really well with having the characters who weren't very like accepting come around and realize like the damage that they were doing and eventually like being advocates. And so I appreciated that.
And even in the third one, I know you didn't get this far, but even the ones who, they still really didn't come around. Like they didn't love it, but they were like, okay, I guess this is just how it is now. They didn't accept it, but it was what it was to them. Okay, so there's actually 4 different kinds of elites. And the lower ones that lived in the slums were called the mundanes.
Yes.
So they had less power or like very common abilities. Then there's the offensives who are like, they have skills good for combat or fighting, things like that. Defensive, so powers for defense. And then fatals, elites with powers considered too dangerous. So that would have been like a mind reader. You had to like work for the king to be a fatal. And then there was another one. And I honestly think Kai's probably would have been considered fatal, but because he worked for the king was his dad, but like he worked for the kingdom, he was like safe from that.
Exactly. There was like the other one, I feel like trust and betrayal was like a big theme in this book, but it wasn't, I don't know. I feel like it was less betrayal and it was more just like
trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody purposefully betrayed somebody else. I think it was they were fighting for what was right. And I think in a power and inequality story, that tends to be.
But I think that it was important that, so there's technically like, if you want to use the word betrayal, but, and I gave quotations to the people who are listening, but I think that she does a good job at highlighting like betrayal versus like perspective. Of, like you said, like there wasn't actually betrayal. It was just like people standing up for what they felt was right and other people viewing it as betrayal.
I was going to say the only other betrayal I can really defend as an actual betrayal, but also not really, is in the 3rd book. Once you get to hear from Kit a little bit more and see what was happening in his brain.
Okay.
As he was like doing a lot of stuff, when you see the choices and the reasoning behind what he was doing, is a betrayal, but it wasn't his natural actions. It wasn't like his real choices, if that makes sense, for being as vague as I can be. That's the only other betrayal like storyline I think I could defend, but again, it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the only other theme in this book was identity versus deception, and basically like everyone's pretending to be something that they're not, and what does that say about survival versus being authentic?
That's like a real thing though in real life is people are always pretending to be something that they're not.
And I think that can be very damaging to somebody's like internal authenticity and morals and values. So
Yeah.
that's a good theme to bring. She actually really hit the mark with the themes.
She did it. Yeah. I, like you said, that was a big reason I kept reading was like, I think she really did. She used her voice well with
Yeah,
today's problems.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, tropes, and we hit on tropes and like genre talk, but
Yeah.
I feel like we could extend more on dystopian fatigue, what makes this trilogy stand out or not in a sea of YA dystopias. I think that I'll go back to what we were saying earlier. I think that what doesn't make it stand out for me is that like she repeated too much of the dystopian stuff.
Mhm.
The trials were repeated, and it was too much. It lost me.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If it were not a book club book, I probably never would have picked up the series. It's just not one that I gravitate towards. Even having read it, I'm like, okay.
See, and I'd had it on my TBR, but like I'd had it on my TBR purely, I let BookTok influence me, so I'd
we
seen it a
know.
lot. You know what? It's so funny. I had one of our book club members over the other night for like a girl wine night, and she told me, she was like, I listened to the 5-star episode, and I'm not hating on you because I'm the same way. She was like, I care what people on the internet say. And I was like, exactly, because I want the general consensus from the general pop. Not that I don't trust my friends, but if a mass large like group of people and there's like an average rating for it, like I don't know, like I feel like that speaks volumes.
So I'm not immune to that, but I also keep in mind, like, one, who's telling me. If you tell me to read a book, I'm probably going to read the book at some point. But like when I do, if I'm in a bookstore and I look something up on Goodreads, like I do take it with a grain of salt because art is perceived so differently person to person. So like it's something that I really strive to give chances to. I'm not going to lie. If something has a 1 out of 5 on Goodreads, I'm probably putting it back. But if it's like a 2.5, like I might try it because I do feel, like I said, art is so interpretive. And I just think that it wouldn't be fair to me or to these authors to not give it a try.
I think I'm
And to
just
be
a
fair,
book
like,
snob. I think I need a 3 or higher.
no. And I read the last one, which is one I always bring up to you, before it really had any reviews. I didn't know, but I read it like a week after it was released. And then so I've been waiting this whole time.
Also, I feel
Branded,
like
I also happened to read like very early in its release.
I need to go back and look at the reviews for the last one, and I need to see what people were saying was
Yeah.
so wrong. I want to see like why people like hated on it, because I didn't really look into that. I just looked at the overall rating, and I didn't really
Mhm.
actually dive into the reviews. So I do need to do that due diligence. One of the bullet points we had down was like the most like painful moment award, or like favorite romantic scene, whatever. And there was one scene that came to mind when I like saw that bullet point that we had put in our agenda. And when Peyton takes him into like her space in the slums.
Kit, when she brings Kit in.
No, when she takes Kai into her like living area, they like stay the night, like up in her little loft. That was really, you know what that gave me? That gave me Aladdin.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was just one of those things that it just felt really sweet. And
Mhm.
I liked that. I liked that
That's
scene.
what I liked about it, and what I like about sometimes throwing in like a YA slow burn is there's so many more like sweet, wholesome moments to appreciate other than like these raunchy, smutty ones.
I agree.
So like, I was really reluctant when I first saw this was YA. And I was like, Andrew, I don't want to read a YA. Like I haven't read YA since I was a teenager.
I love YA.
I ate those words because I really liked that aspect of this.
Yeah, I'm a
Mm.
YA fan. Like some of
I
my fave books, I'm pretty sure Heartless Hunter is YA. I do know for a fact The Cruel Prince is a YA, and that is by far, that's my top tier YA fantasy right now.
yeah.
If Heartless Hunter is a YA, I have not read the second book in that duology, but if the second book is as good as the first, it may beat out Cruel Prince, but we'll see. Okay, let's play some Would You Rather.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Would you rather be Peyton faking her powers in order to survive, or be Kai trying to have feelings like a normal person?
I would rather be Kai trying to have normal feelings like a
I
real
feel
person.
like I already am Kai.
Listen, I'm not a deceiver. I'm not a liar. I'm not sneaky. I'm like the person. Okay, so great scenes in Friends when Joey finds out that Monica and Chandler are sleeping together. They like push him in the back bedroom and they're like,
Yeah.
quiet, like you can't say anything. And he's sitting there and he goes, but it is a big deal. And they were like, no, we don't want people to know. He goes, this is huge. I got to tell someone. Like, that's me.
Yeah.
So
I
there's no
feel
way I could keep the secret that I didn't
look,
have powers.
we've already talked about how much of an emotional mess I am. When I can't lie, I cry. I remember I think I mentioned this last episode. My parents are divorced. They divorced when I was really young, and I remember my mom so specifically telling me I wasn't allowed to watch this R-rated movie. And I went to my dad's like, "Hey, let's watch this movie," and I watched it. I went home to my mom's that weekend and I cried and I told her I watched it because I felt so bad.
Okay, so this is really great. I'm also a tattler on myself. I was really big into that when I was like a kid. I was really young when I used to do this, and so that's why it sounds the way that it is. I'm gonna tell you. So when I used to do something like bad or not bad, but I used to do something I wasn't supposed to do, I would come in the room or I would come to find my mom or dad, and I would stand there and I would look at them and they would be like, "Hey, what's up?" And I would look at them and I'd go, "I gotta tell the truth."
Aw.
And I would tattle on myself.
I would cry and I'd write my mom a note about what I did wrong because I couldn't even tell her I felt so bad.
I recently was going through like old like kid stuff in our storage unit like back a couple months ago, and I had a book that I had to write in when I like got in trouble and I had to write an apology note and I found all my apology notes and I was dead.
That's actually so funny. I love that.
Okay, next question.
Would you rather be in love with somebody who might betray you or be the betrayer of someone you love? I would rather be in love with someone who might betray me. I couldn't betray
Mm,
somebody I love. I couldn't do it. I literally just told you I cry when I tell a lie. So,
yeah, I somebody I like truly love. Yeah, no, I would
like
rather
Dylan.
be. Yeah, I would.
Like, would you rather betray Dylan or have Dylan betray you?
I think I would rather have Dylan betray me.
Same, but with Andrew.
Because listen here, this is the thing. If Dylan betrays me, depending on what it is, like there's some room for let's talk about it, some forgiveness. If I betrayed Dylan, this man would pack his shit and I would never hear from him again.
See, it's not even that. It's so I'll be upset either way, right? If I betray him or if he betrays me. But if I betray him, I'll be upset for myself that whatever happened, but also that he's upset. Whereas if he betrays me, then I only have to be upset for myself. Would you rather have the power of persuasion, but no one trusts you, or be powerless, but everyone thinks you're dangerous?
Oh God.
I would rather be powerless and let everybody think that I'm dangerous.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is funny because I've had people tell me, and I don't really get it, but they tell me that I'm very intimidating when they first meet me, or like I come across like a bitch. And I find that super shocking.
So it's really funny. My mom and I talk about this a lot actually, because my mom gets told the same thing. I've been told the same thing. Sarah and I actually talk about it too. I think when you do your work and like you know who you are, I think that just that energy like shows up in a room. And I think that intimidates people.
What's so funny about that is I don't really know who I am. Like, I don't really have that confidence in myself. So it's just like my friend from work, he tells me all the time, like, he thought I was this big bitch. And I'm like, I wear Disney shirts like every other day. He goes, yeah, there are evil stepmothers in Disney. And I was like, oh, my God.
You may not think that you know who you are, but I think that you are grounded in like what you tolerate and what you don't tolerate.
That's true.
And so I think that that's where like your energy like comes into play or like the energy that you give off is you really just don't give a fuck.
I don't. I should more probably.
No. Who says you should? Who?
Me. So would you rather go on the run with morally gray rebel group or stay in the city under the warden's rule pretending everything is fine?
Oh, I would totally rather go on the run.
Same.
I think it would be more fun.
I think it'd be more fun and like also I just don't really like to be quiet about things. If it's wrong, I will say it's wrong. You know what I mean? Would you rather be as powerful as Kai or have Peyton's wit and survive with zero powers? I would rather have Peyton's wit and zero powers.
I'd rather be powerful.
Would you?
Yeah.
I would be afraid of like people only using me for my power.
Yeah, but I think that comes back to even if I was like super powerful, I think that I would still be able to like weasel out the people that were just using me for my powers.
That's fair. See I'm so bad at like character not I don't know, that's really bad. I give everybody too many chances. So I feel if I were powerful, I don't know. I don't think I could weed through people like
I think I'm good at judging character in the present moment as they present to me when I meet them. And then I think
that.
that once I establish the relationship with somebody, if like red flags come along the way, I have a hard time believing that the person that I initially met and formed a relationship with would do those things later on. Whereas I think we've talked about this before, but like Dylan is very much somebody who is, I don't trust you. You will prove to me that you can be trusted. Dylan has a really good inkling for people. It's like
And
actually like sick.
I wish I was more like that. I will have gut judgment. Not judgments, but gut like feelings about people, but I will still give them a chance. And there's a very good in our real lives situation where I've let that happen, where I've had a gut feeling and it's not been a great one, but I tried anyway and it blew up in my face. And I do that all the time because I just really like to think that people are good.
I also think too, like sometimes like I've fallen trapped to I form like connections with people for specific reasons, but then like I
Mhm.
see them treat other people differently and I'm like, they're not treating me that way, so there's something special about our relationship, but then like when it eventually becomes me, inevitably, I'm like, "Oh my God, why?"
No, but I wholeheartedly also judge people on how they treat others because I don't think you can only treat people well that you like. I think that as people, you don't know what any like Joe Schmo off the street could be going through the worst day of his life, and I could bump into him, and I have two options. I could be a bitch and be like, "Watch where you're going," or I could be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That was my fault." You know what I mean? And I just think we should always take option B because everybody's got shit going on, and I
And
don't
I
know.
think that's where so like I'll offer the other perspective and then we can move on, but
It's
I
a very
think
philosophical episode.
it is, and I didn't expect it to be, but it is. I think that on the other end of the spectrum of you never know what people are going through or have gone through, I think that's why I give people sometimes who are shitty to others, but like kind to me, like a second chance almost, because it's okay, like I don't know what happened to you. Like you are this defensive and mean for a reason. Like you've obviously gone through some shit. It doesn't
Mhm.
excuse what you're doing, but there's a good person in there. And so I think I said it in another episode. Like if you give me a sliver of you're a good person, like I will hold on to that. And that's been true for relationships, like romantic
Yeah.
relationships for me. That's also been true for friendships. And I've been burned a couple times.
So here, I'm like the opposite. I probably walk all over me as a friend for a very long time before I say anything about it. But if I watch you treat other people that way, I will cut you off or I will say something and I won't watch you do it to other people. But like I will probably take a lot of the brunt of that and not say anything about it. And you just don't know what's going on with people.
I think you're just like really kind. Okay, next question.
All right, last one. Would you rather be trapped in the Capitol's arena or be stuck in the summit, which is where they did their trials, with your secret exposed? So you're either trapped in the
Ooh.
Capitol where nobody really has powers, you're just trained differently, or you're stuck where everybody else has powers and you don't, and everybody knows it. So you're like a running target, a moving target.
I would totally rather be trapped in the Capitol arena.
I was gonna say that because at least everybody has the same odds then, because nobody else is more powerful than the other, unless you're like trained harder, obviously.
Well, I
But
don't know how much you have you watched the Hunger Games movies?
yeah, when they first came out,
Okay,
it's
so
not
like
one I
there
rewatched.
there is a little bit of power and privilege in that of
We come from
the better districts.
yeah, your training's better type of thing.
Yeah, but I think I still stand by my answer.
I think I personally would have a better chance. Not a great one, but a better one.
Yeah, I think that if I was stuck around a bunch of people who had powers and I didn't, I'd be like,
Yeah. Yep. What did you rate the books? And then what would you rate the overall trilogy?
"Oh God, let's
I
look."
rated I'll say mine while you look. I
Okay,
rated 1 and 2 4. I
okay,
gave them both 4. And I gave the third one 3.
okay.
Give it a 3. Just because of how it ended, now I'm disappointed.
let's take a scroll back. So Powerless, I gave a 4, and I said in my comments, loved the plot. It was very evident this is a YA based on the romance. Wanted more violence. Would recommend to a friend.
Wanted more violence.
I did. So this is the thing. People were comparing it to the Hunger Games, and like the Hunger Games, like that shit was like that shit got pretty violent. And I was like expecting that level of
That's
dystopian trial. I didn't get that.
That's fair.
Okay, Reckless, I rated 3 stars, and I said I wanted to hate it for how cheesy it was, but it truly kept me entertained. And then I said, what the heck was that ending, though? Because the second book ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And honestly, the cliffhanger was what made me pick up the third book. If there hadn't been a cliff at the end, I wouldn't have picked up the third one.
Same.
And then for Fearless,
You DNF'd.
I DNF'd that, and I rated that a 1 star, because most of the time when I DNF a book, I rated a 1 star. And my comment was literally DNF, ... I know, ... I know.
Do you always write a comment?
Yes.
I don't always.
Yeah, I used to not write comments at all, and then I made a commitment to write a comment, like, every time that I review a book, because I like to go back and read, like, my comments about why I rated it that.
That's fair. I have to have a good thought or, like, really feel like for Mist and Fury, I said mine was just, I'm obsessed. That was it.
Mine are not, like, pages and pages. Like, mine might be, like, a quote from the book that I really
Wait,
connected
you mean
to.
you don't rewrite the books?
The people that write, like, pages of reviews, I'm just like, okay, obviously you need, like, a platform, so go start a Bookstagram, go start a podcast, do
Even
something.
writing my first arc that I did on Instagram, I'm like, I feel like I should be writing more, because some people on Goodreads write pages, and I couldn't even, without rewriting the entire book, I didn't know what to write.
Here's my thing also, like, if you're writing, like, pages and pages on a Goodreads review, are you okay?
It's their hobby, okay?
Well, this is my hobby, but
Maybe they don't have other bookish friends and they need to have an outlet somewhere. Yeah, but even if we didn't have book club or this, like, we still have each other. Like, maybe they don't have that.
yeah, they need to get it out somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Some quotes. It was so hard to find them.
Honestly, the only one that I like out of the options that I'm seeing here is the one from Reckless, and it says, you cannot be nothing when you are everything to someone. And I like that.
I like that a lot too.
I think that can be, like, pretty powerful when somebody doesn't really view themselves. Like, I think about people who are, like, lack a little bit of self-esteem, like, in my life, like friends or, like, romantic relationships I've had, like, even, like, my marriage. I'm like, man, like, I wish you could see yourself the way I see you.
Yes.
And
I
that's
think
what that
about
quote
people all the
reminds me of.
time.
Yeah.
I think that about people all the time.
Wow.
I agree. That's what I got from it.
This really was, like, a very philosophical episode.
It was. We said her themes were strong. Like, credit where credit's due. She did really do that.
I agree.
Yeah. I do have to say the Powerless one real quick, because I do like that one.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why after.
Well,
So,
you might as well just read the other two.
There's only one more after that.
Okay.
The Powerless one is, I was lonely in a way that I imagined the stars to be, observed by everyone, yet too far to truly be seen. Now, this is not in the context that I'm going to say it, but why I related to that one was, like, in grief. It's like somebody could be experiencing with you that the same experience, you know what I mean? I lost my dad a couple years ago, and even though my sister also lost her dad, it was still so lonely. Like, everybody was looking at me. Everybody was making sure I was okay. Everybody was checking in. But I have never felt so lonely in my life.
I think grief gets really lonely, and like you said, like, even somebody who, okay, so I'll give a little context, and I haven't talked about mine on here either, but my husband and I lost a baby, and it's interesting because, like, my relationship with grief and his relationship with grief, like, very different. Like, we experienced the same loss, but I still was very lonely on many days. And I think it speaks to everybody has a different relationship with people who are living. And, like, my relationship with, like, our daughter was different than Dylan's relationship with our daughter, just like your relationship was different with your dad than, like, your sisters. And yeah, I thought you were going more in, like, I guess grief is, like, a topic of mental health, but I thought you were going more in the direction of, like, depression or darkness, or, like, just being in the dark with your mental health. But now that you relate it back to grief, like, I think that is.
And I can see that with mental health, but even with all my mental health struggles since I was little, I have never ever felt so alone and far away as I do during grief.
Yeah, like I definitely feel like that with my mental health, like I have been able to find people who can at least relate to like similar symptoms of depression or anxiety or ADHD or whatever.
And what was really not helpful, but even when my sister and I would talk about it, we would both acknowledge how different the experience was for us. I was not even 30 yet. I hadn't lived with my dad since I was 5. I was 6 months out from getting married. I hadn't had a kid. None of it. Jess was into her 30s. She was pregnant, so he knew he was going to be a grandpa, but obviously he didn't meet his grandchild. She was already married. Like, she had so many more experience and so much more time with him. And like, she very much validated that for me, which was really kind because I really did feel so lonely.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, we just really topped off this episode.
I know.
All right, everyone, if you enjoyed our yapping about the Powerless Trilogy and our philosophical conversations that we did not see coming, next week, tune in. We are going to break down the psyche of one of our favorite characters, specifically
Super
favorite
excited.
FMCs, Aelin Galathinius from the Throne of Glass series. So much to unpack there. And I'm really excited to do this like little new type of episode.
A little bit different. Like, we're not in one book, but one character.
I am super pumped. So yeah, if you enjoyed us, follow us on Instagram. We've got a TikTok, we've got a website, all the things. Pretty much until next time or until the next chapter, stay cunning, stay brave, and remember, you are your own high lady.